Hello and welcome to my video. My name is Jellykid No, and today we're going to be covering patch 29.4.2 with emphasis on our Hearthstone Battleground updates and changes. All right. Well, we're going to just go down the list. We'll scroll down to where it starts talking about Battleground changes. And as we kind of talk about this, I'm going to kind of present my thoughts as we kind of see what's changed, if there's going to be a shift in balance of what's overpowered or what's going to stay S tier. And we'll discuss to see if Quillbore still maintains at the top or if they're going to get a chance to get dethroned. So leave your thoughts and comments on the video as well. Please go ahead and share and like. Um, and let us know what you think. We'll go ahead and continue down the list though, okay? So starting off, we have Kindly Grandmother, Sly Raptor, and Gentle Genie being removed from the pool. Personally, I think these are going to be cards that are just going to be here or there. Kindly Grandmother at best was a strong turn one card, if kind of competitive, I should say, not strong. Why Sly Raptor and Gentle Genie, I don't feel like I saw a lot of play, and usually when I came across it, um, it never really was a big pick. So what I'm really excited about though is the cards being added, emphasis mostly on Little Rag. So Mana Saber, Rat Pack, I think are going to be good additions for beasts. Mostly for Rap God, our awesome tier 5 scaler for beasts. But I think with the Banana Slamma being taken out of the game right now, they're going to be okay cards. Little Rag, however, is by far going to be the best card being added back in. This is something that elementals I think really, really need. And I'm really excited to see what updates are actually going to happen with it below. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into the cards first here. So we got some card changes like Rylak Metalhead. Old triggered, you could always guarantee the trigger happening to whatever was left of it on the left side. New, the trigger is now going to be and adjacent minion. Okay, so this kind of actually adds a little bit of RNG to Rylak. So before, Rylak was like, you guarantee it, you can pair it up with some really strong battle cries in both solos and duos and really kind of guarantee. So now it's going to kind of play a little bit of RNG. So I kind of wonder how that's going to play if you have a battle cry on one side and a non-battle cry on the other side, if it will always trigger that battle cry. So you can still get that effect. And if you have two, it'll be either or. So if you get a chance to play that or you already know, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know more about that because the RNG aspect to that could deter players from really kind of making it a priority pick. Either way, though, I still rate this card as a thumbs up, very strong still, and can still see lots and lots of play. Okay, here's the big controversy. The big topic is Pokey. Pokey, old at a 4/5, end of turn. Blood gems give 1/1. New 6/7, start of turn. Okay, so that's really huge because Quillbores, especially AFK Quillbores, as I've heard a lot of people call them, were very much on end of turn effects. And having that pokey scaling, giving +4, +4, +2, +2 with the Drakiri Enchanter, I can see how switching this to start of turn can really affect that scaling. But the more I think about it, I don't think Quillbores are still going to be hit that hard because of this change. This is really the only change that Quillbores are getting. And I don't know if it's going to be enough to make that big of a difference. I do think with this, Quillbore is just going to still be very strong. They're still going to be very much a top contender. Just instead of seeing those thousands on the board, we'll still have some really strong hundreds that are going to have really good trades and still probably get those W's there. If you disagree, though, let me know. I do think that it is going to feel bad for the first week or so, where we are going to feel that difference of having the start of turn pokey instead of end of turn pokey. But in the end, I still think it's going to be in the benefit of Quillbores and just making some of the other archetypes a little bit stronger. So let's keep kind of going down this list here. We have our party elemental next. Stat changes, okay. But this is a really great early game change. A 2/1 compared to a 1/1 will just kind of, especially with Wildfire Elemental, now a 3-drop instead of a 4, Crackling Cyclone, now a 2-drop instead of a 3-drop. I think this will be really good to really make early game elementals a little bit stronger, a little bit more aggressive. Dead Stomper, that's okay. We're just maybe looking, he might be able to take one extra hit before he dies, which could help scale your board. Whirling Lasso-matic, basically they're nerfing his original stats, so this more or less means that you're going to have to commit some magnetics to it so it has a chance to survive, which could then maybe give you more tavern spells. If not, you can always just count on Whirling-o-matic, just give you those 2 tavern spells every turn. Scrap Scraper. Okay, this one I love here. They got rid of the battle cry. Personally, I thought Scrap Scraper was a little too strong, having both a battle cry and a death rattle effect to get those magnetics just really quickly. So turning it into just that death rattle, I think is smart. It's effective, and trust me, you mech players, you will still get plenty of magnetics from Scrap Scraper throughout its journey on its board. Wing Chimera, I like this change a lot because even before uh, this current patch, I was starting to see a lot of menagerie builds coming onto the board. Wing Chimera has went from almost like a nobody plays it into a everybody plays it kind of card, and I think this is a good preemptive nerf because with this quill board change, I think it's going to make it to where we will probably see a lot more menagerie boards being built now. Deep Sleep Crooner, here nor there. Once you get a golden crooner and you get a golden shaker, zesty shaker, you're going to have a big board regardless. So the fact that they just nerf its stats means that in the early game, maybe it just doesn't trade as good. Spellbound Seafarer, I absolutely love this one because as you've seen my last video with my Tavern Spell Pirates, I actually played with 2 of these. It was great. It was a lot of fun to play, but having to get 4 cards just felt very expensive and was slow. So bringing this down to 3 cards is already just going to really up that game. It's going to add more cards to hand. It's going to get more stats boosted from whatever tavern spells you get, as well as if you have Peggy on board, you're adding more cards, you're putting out more pirate stats. That's awesome. I love that change. Gunpowder Courier. From 5 gold to 4 gold now to trigger that +1 attack. That's fine. But this is the pirate problem. It'll always be the pirate problem. Pirates don't have any divine shields. They don't have any death rattles. Well, any big death rattles outside of the tier 1 version, and they don't have any health. And so when you're going against things like dragons that just have a board full of divine shields, or mechs with a board full of divine shields, pirates will always get run over. They'll have a ton of attack, and no health. You can have 300 attack, crash into something, and it just dies because it's going to hit a divine shield. It's not going to trade well. So Blizzard, if you ever see this, please, 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 let's find a way to give pirates more HP. If they don't have any other mechanic. Death Whisper. Okay, they changed the stats a little bit. Okay, I love this change. So basically, the old one is when a friendly minion is reborn, give your undead +1/+3. That is now changing to a reborn, give your minion. So it doesn't matter what minion it is; it just says all of it. That works really well for Menagerie. It also will buff your Titus Rivendare, your Bran, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what archetype or neutral class; it's gonna get buffed. I think this gives Death Whisper a huge buff up into its playstyle. So now the only thing we're really missing at this point, when it comes to stat boosting 6-drops, is going to be Lord of Gains from our Naga builds, where it only buffs +1/+1 for every spell cast just for Naga. I think it would be amazing if Lord of Gains did the same kind of change as Death Whisper and would just give +1/+1 to all minions for every spell cast that turn. And I think that would create a little bit more equality between Charlie, Death Whisper, and Lord of Gains in those cases. Makes all of them a lot more viable, a lot more playable. Well, looking further here now, we're getting into Beast. Now, this has probably been one of the most highly talked about, at least when it comes to looks of what's changed with the cards. Because in this case here, our Trigor the Lasher has gone from gaining just one health permanently to gaining +1/+1. So, how good this is really going to be, we'll have to wait and see. However, on paper, we're no longer going to be dealing with a 15 attack and a 300 health lasher. Now we're going to hopefully be having a little bit more equality within those attack pools and health pools. And I just cannot wait to see lashers as a 4 drop just really become a powerhouse scaler. Skyblazer, or who I call Articuno, is now also going from that 1/1 permanently down to a 1/2 permanently, which is awesome. I personally absolutely love what they've done with Beast this season. I'm a huge fan of that sacrificing health to gain bigger stats in the long run. I think it's really cool. It's a little bit more unique. And I think what they're doing to balance this out is going to make Beast much stronger. The only thing I dislike about this comp, to be honest, and some of y'all may disagree with me on this, but I absolutely hate having to close out of my game to reopen it back in so I can maximize my time in the tavern. Now, if you agree with me, though, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all right? But regardless, I don't think you should ever have to close a game and reopen it in order to play it. And so, again, I think a good, easy solution for that would just be to speed up the mechanics, make the mechanics go faster, the damage that's going to be happening across the board sped up. So that way, when you are playing Beast and you go back to the tavern, you're not stuck with a 30-second turn. Outside of that, though, Beasts are phenomenal. I love the changes. Let's take a look here at what we have next. We have Murky, Old 6/4, Battlecry, give a friendly minion +10/+10. Now it's +4/+4, but it's a 4/4 for each Murloc you control. Okay, that's actually really huge. The original Murky used to, I think it was a +1/+1, and it gained +1/+1 permanently for every single Battlecry you've played that whole game. And so the OG Murky, you could really stat boost it up quite a bit. I've seen it get up into like the 25s to 30s stat boosting. They then nerfed it to this 10/10 flat, but now bringing this back in here, goodness gracious. I forget the name of the Murloc too, the other 6-drop one that triggers battle cries at the end of turn. But you pair this Murky now with that, you will not only have a strong board, but I'm sure you'll also have a really good, strong Murloc in hand, ready to play down. So huge, love it. I think Murlocs are getting tons of support now after this patch. Next, we got Hungering Abomination. So this was close to what we kind of called, or I kind of called with my friends and I. We were all thinking Abomination was a great card. However, it needed a little bit more love. We all agreed on having it be a +2/+2. In this case here, it got a +1/+2, so it kind of met midway there. And I think it's great. The longer Hungry Abomination stays in the board, the more stats it gains permanently. And when it comes to most things that aren't those ridiculous every minions in the thousands, having HP can really matter. And this change to Abomination is a good change. Okay, Molten Rock gets that 3/3, 6/6. Frostling gets increased a tier and now gives +2/+1. This is probably the only change out of all these changes that I think that I don't necessarily agree with. As I just described about how health was so important, here it's the opposite. They increase the tier, so you have to be 5 before you run into it, and it gives you more attack. So it still crashes into the same things. Maybe it trades a little bit better, but I don't necessarily agree with that change, but I know why they did that change, and that's going to be because of Little Rag. Because Little Rag was the tier 5. They've now bumped it down to a tier 4. Now, Little Rag, though, is the homie. He's what's going to really carry elementals stronger into the late game, and it'll give you the opportunity to play elementals that isn't always going to be based around Azurite and Shelemental. Right now, if you want to play good elementals, you kind of just have to go Azurite, Shell Elemental, and just stat boost your way that way. Little Rag gives you that chance to buy, play, sell minions. For those who don't know what Little Rag does, is whenever you play a minion, Rag will give those stats of that elementals tier to another. So you could buy a 5-drop Frostling, play it. Little Rag will then give a +5/+5. He's basically the bigger version of the party elemental that we saw just recently get buffed earlier. Roaring Rallier was from a 2/2 to a 2/1. I don't think this is going to make a big difference in the play style of dragons. Dragons were already just more focused on spreading divine shields, playing the undead dragon at tier 4, getting really high stats and attacks, and then trading through their divine shields. So, yes, it is a bit of a nerf, but is it going to be a killer for dragons? Absolutely not. Um, Dragon. So this is going to be a probably a big game changer here. Okay, so we went from a tier 3 to a tier 5. So the old school way that I saw a lot of people play dragons, I say old school as in like up until like noon today. You went tier 4 and then you just stayed tier 4 until for the rest of the game. You got all your divine shield spread, you got your poets, you got your undead dragons, you got everything else you needed, and you just went wide with your divine shields. So now what I want to kind of take a look at is going to be next on our list, which is actually going to be our Time Captain Hooktail. I absolutely love this card. I mean, I'm a big fan of Tyrant Spell Pirates, Tyrant Spell Dragons, really early game aggression. Um, this card's always been good for that. It's kind of weird to see it get nerfed in this way, unless there's just something I don't know about that's been exploited. So if you happen to know what it is or why do you think Hooktail got a nerf, let me know down in the comments below, and we can discuss that a bit. So, but let's keep going on here. Impulsive Trickster, not a highly used demon anymore. The only times I really ever see this get used is actually in dragons, not really in even in demon comps. It's mostly meant to scale with Poet or Terragosa. So next, we have our Oozling Gladiator, which I actually like this buff. Very small buff. The card does this exact same thing it's always done, except it just felt so bad to always have it on the board with its 1/2 stats. Now, with it at least being a 2/2, can give some early game better trade offs. So, overall, fun. It's nice. Wrath Reaver, this has been a long time coming for Wrath Reaver. 1/3 stats are really old and outdated. So this kind of keeps it on track with some of the other tier 1 minions for better trades. And now we have our backstage security. I absolutely love this change. It is so awesome. Instead of having to rely on the start of turn, deal 1 damage to your hero, now becomes a battle cry, deal 1 damage. So the versatility that it brings, you choose when to take that damage. It doesn't feel so bad to actually buy it and play it on turn 1 anymore. And it becomes a much better late game with a buy, play, take the damage, and sell it when you're really working on that soul rewinder, reversal of that damage, and buffing the rest of your board through that. So excellent buff, 10 out of 10. I think it was one of the smartest plays they could have made for such a small early game card. Afterwards, we have Fire Dancer. Um, just a stat buff, makes it a little bit stronger for early game. HP is not that big of a concern, especially in the later game. It'll still do its job, pop all the divine shields that you need, or trigger all the beast effects that you will need to coming forward. Deviant Shipwright, big fan of this. So they added the word permanently to the text finally. Now, pirates always will have that problem with never having enough HP. Every pirate will have that problem except for Shipwright. Now, Shipwright synergizes better with Admiral Eliza, as well as just being a threat on the board. No longer will it just need to be buffed outside of combat, but anytime it gets a buff in combat, you're just going to see that HP skyrocket and boost. In the early game, with I can't remember his name, the 2-drop captain card, and then with Eliza later on as well. Just awesome change, much needed. At least one pirate in the board will have HP. Taking a look at Fiery Fellblood, no problem. A little bit less, a little worse on the trades, but the job gets done still with that Death Rattle effect. Underhanded Dealer just gets a stat boost. I'm not really a fan of this one. I feel like I would have liked a little bit better of this being maybe a 1-2, kind of like the Abomination. Um, Underhanded Dealer obviously is a very strong card. When you find it in tier 5, it just, I was excited when this was put on the buff meter for pirates. I was hoping for a little bit more, is all. But let's go ahead and continue down. We have Bream Counter, awesome change. The HP is just going to be a big threat. This is just with between Bream Counter here and King Begurgle being put down to tier 4, it looks like. Yeah, from tier 5 to tier 4. Bream Counter getting a buff from 3-2 to 3-3. It's pretty clear that the comp that's really going to make a big presence coming forward is going to be Murlocs. Murlocs are just getting huge buffs across the board for both their attack, both their HP, their board will probably be a big presence, and now their hand will be even bigger. So let's take a look at some of the spells and the tavern spells that are being fixed and changed now. First one we have Cloning Conch. Easy again, right? Let's just find more Murlocs faster. It's going from a tier 5 to a tier 4. Dreamer's Embrace is going from tier 4 to tier 5. I think that's very well needed. Having that spell just trigger an additional battle cry, really broken for those battle cry comps. Scavenge for parts, very much needed. The value that we were getting with a 2 gold magnetic, so 2 gold for 3 minions over 3 turns, guaranteed to be magnetics, was really strong. Now it's at a more effective cost. 3 gold is the normal cost for a card. So we play the 3 gold, get the card, we'll find 3 good magnetics. It's hardly probably going to be even felt the difference. Plunder Seeker looks like it just gets kind of just a wording change. I can't imagine a time where you're not really playing a lot of pirates that you're not going to pick this card anyway. So great card, one of the best cards pirates can ever get, especially when you have Peggy on the board. Duos. In duos, we get to see Orchestra Conductor go back to its peak. I'm excited to see some of the stats that Conductor will get up to. Really good synergy with Bran, really good synergy with Shell Elemental. Great minion to have. I'm again excited to see how it plays out. And Minari Messenger coming from tier 4 to tier 5. I think that's been very well needed. Too often than not, one of the routes of just spamming a bunch of minions, giving all your stuff to your teammate, and then you just go Rylac and you go Messenger and just buff up your board and keep passing more things. Won't happen so fast. It'll still be doable. I can definitely still see comps using that combo. Just tier 5 now. So overall, I would definitely give this a big A minus on its balance changes and tunings. I really wish that Pirates got a lot more help, and they just kind of still they made it look like I got really hyped. There was going to be a lot of help for them, but they kind of were just again thrown under the rug. Murlocs, I definitely think have now reached the top. I would definitely argue and still say that it's going to be Quillbores, Mechs, and Murlocs up at near the top in competition more often than not. Followed very closely now by Beasts. Demons have gotten a little bit of extra love, so Beasts and Demons I think will be kind of duking it out. And unfortunately, below that, then we kind of start getting into our Nagas and Pirates. So, but what are your thoughts? Let me know what you think. What buffs are you excited? What buffs are you excited for? And what comps are you excited to play? Let me know, and we'll hopefully we'll get a chance to converse in the comments section. Thank you, and bye.